Today's review is brought to you by the website www.allabouthomeelectronics.com. It's loaded with articles, loaded with how-to information. Today we're taking a look at the Samsung HW-E551 audio bar home theater system. Here's a picture of it. It's a speaker bar that goes right below a flat screen television, and then it has a wireless subwoofer. Samsung has set the price for this soundbar and wireless subwoofer at $349. It's got some pretty cool features, one of them being the split design. So in other words, you can take that soundbar, let's look at it, it's depicted right here below the television. Now you can detach the right side from the left side, and you can mount them on the wall to the right of the TV, and you can mount it on the wall to the left of the TV, or you can put it on these little stands that are included. Now this package does come with an active subwoofer, and basically what active means is that the subwoofer has its own amplifier built in. That's a huge plus for you. You want an amplifier built into your subwoofer. A lot of these systems that come out of the box will have a subwoofer that's wired to the soundbar, and it's a passive subwoofer. An active subwoofer is always going to outperform a passive subwoofer. That's why this is a good feature at really a great price. Now we're going to take a quick look at some of the specifications. This is a 2.1 channel system. What that means is you're going to get a left and a right channel from the sound bar, and the point 1 is the subwoofer. So the total power that they're rating this thing at is 80 watts times 2, or right about 150 watts. Now Samsung has this proprietary feature called AnyNet, and if you now the next thing we're going to take a look at is the connectivity. This is kind of important because depending on what type of equipment you already have, be it a Blu-ray player, CD player, Xbox, or other gaming station like a Wii, you're going to need to be familiar with the connections. Now we're going to actually look at a photograph of the connections on the back of this, but for right now I'm just going to highlight them. It's got a audio input. It has two HDMI inputs, so that's great if you've got a Blu-ray player or gaming station, or maybe two gaming stations. It has one HDMI output, of course that goes up to your flat screen TV. It's got a USB, so you can play some MP3s and WAMA files, which are from Windows essentially. And then it's got a digital input, so this is probably a Toslink. Digital is really going to produce a better sound than this one audio input up here. And then of course you've got some Bluetooth connectivity. Now we're also going to take a look at the dimensions. This device is 42.83 inches wide, and it's only 2.1, just a little bit over 2 inches high, and then the depth is a little bit over 2 inches as well. Now I know this is kind of a repeat of what I just said, but I kind of want to drive home a couple of things. One, this is a 2.1 system, so in a true surround sound system, a 5.1 Dolby surround sound system, in front of the viewer, you're going to have three speakers. You're going to have the center speaker, which sits right below the TV or right above the TV. Typically, it's right below the TV. That's where the voices come from. Then you're going to have your left front channel and your right front channel. So there's no real center speaker here. It just, your TV already has a two-way speaker system. It has a left and a right. So this speaker soundbar system with the wireless subwoofer is doing the same thing, except the speakers are a little higher quality, and of course you get the subwoofer, so you're going to have a little bit of thump in there. And I want to touch on this AnyNet thing again because Samsung, this is their proprietary feature. If you connect an AnyNet TV, a Samsung branded AnyNet TV, a TV that has AnyNet built into it, and you connect that through HDMI, the HDMI wire, what happens is that you can typically control your sound bar or other functionality because of this proprietary AnyNet. It's just a communication that flows back and forth from the Samsung television through the HDMI cable down to this sound system itself. But if you don't have a Samsung TV with with the AnyNet feature built in, this feature is of absolutely no use to you because it won't work on any other television. Alright, we're looking at a depiction on the connection points on the back of this subwoofer. And here's a key thing to keep in mind if you're considering this product. This subwoofer is going to need to be installed basically right below your television because there's an HDMI output. Now let's take a look. Number 4 here, HDMI out jack, number 4 right here. There's going to be an HDMI cable that you're going to have to purchase separately. They don't include that with this Samsung package. And the HDMI cable is going to connect to one of the HDMI inputs on the flat screen TV that you have or that you're going to buy. So if you get like a really long HDMI cable, you can move the subwoofer sort of away from the television. But if you have a short HDMI cable, short being 6 foot or less, then of course the subwoofer is going to have to be right at the TV. And a little bit of notation on the HDMI cables. If you decide you're going to go out and get a really long HDMI cable, you probably want to start paying attention to a little higher quality. One that I like, a brand that I like is Monster brand. Now, several viewers out there are going to go, oh, there's not a big difference in HDMI cables. And basically, you're right. There were some tests a few years ago. They tested about 50 different manufacturers of HDMI cables. And in the short lengths, excuse me, what they found was virtually all the USB cables performed the same. However, when you got into the longer length cables, and when I say longer, I'm referring to 30 feet, 40 feet, and much longer, which is quite a bit longer. But there, when the lengths got to those long lengths, performance did vary depending on the manufacturer. Now, I don't know every single manufacturer. I don't have them memorized as it relates to the test. But my point being, there are going to be a handful of people who are going to watch this video and are going to think to themselves they want to move this away from the TV because there's no room or it's not attractive or whatever the reason is. So they're going to want to get a longer HDMI cable. If you're getting a 30 or 40 foot HDMI cable, it would be in your interest to look at maybe a little bit better quality. A brand that I like, that I've used, that we've had great experience with in the higher quality long cables is Monster. They usually label it something like good, better, and best. Those aren't the actual words they use, but when you see the labeling, you'll see what I mean. I think the 700 series is middle of the road. You're a pretty safe bet if you go there. You can shop for it online or at a local retailer. Don't really care where you get it. Okay, let's take a couple of looks here. Number one, this is the top of the subwoofer. So if you're not using the remote control, now there is a remote control with this package, but there's going to be a standby and a link button right here just to let you know what the status of the system is at any given time. Number two, on the back side of the subwoofer is your power switch. Number three, which is down here, are two separate HDMI inputs. So you can plug in your Xbox 360, your Wii, assuming your Wii has an HDMI output, the older ones don't, or a PS3, or a Blu-ray player or a DVD player, as long as they have, well, Blu-ray players all have HDMI outputs, but older DVD players probably won't unless they're a very recent old DVD player. And then of course you have a, let's see what's number 5, ID set button. So because the subwoofer is wireless, you have to set the ID to communicate, and that's where that set button is. Now number 6 here is a digital Toslink audio connection point. This is really great if you want to do, if you, let's say you want to connect a CD player, and your CD player has a digital Toslink connection point. You'd want to use that to connect to the sound bar because the digital Toslink is going to give you a much better sound quality as opposed to this analog input right here. Now, Samsung does include this analog connection cable with the kit. They do not include this Toslink cable. You can probably get one for 10, 20 bucks online or a local retailer. All Toslinks are the same. It's basically sort of like a fiber optic cable. It emits light. When you plug it in, don't point it in your eye, but you can see the light if you look at it from an angle. Okay, so that about covers the back of that. Okay, so that concludes the review on the Samsung HW-E551